was totally ready to go live. Oh my gosh. I'm not. Whatever. It's fine. Hi. Hello. So, excuse me. We are starting off strong with a big yarn. The sun's going to be going into Aries in approximately 30 hours, which is a fairly rough approximation because it's like 10 p.m. Central tomorrow, which is like, it's almost 29 hours. Yeah, approximately 30 hours. 27. That's, I don't know why I thought there were 26 hours in a day for a second. But anyway, excuse me. I am tired. I stayed up way too late last night. Slayed into the wee hours of the morning playing video games, Digimo games. It was like the good old days. So, uh, yeah, usually I use OBS, but today I clicked go live. So I can't like black out the screen if I have to get up or whatever. So that's fine. Excuse me if I can make it through this video. So what I'm going to do today is that thing that I like to do more often than not, it seems, whenever there's a transit that happens. Excuse me. I don't know why I just said excuse me. I'm going to use the SKT Revelations and Vitruvian Edition. The Vitruvian Edition is going to be this season, and the Revelations Edition is going to be the next season. So we're going to pull 3 cards for what Pisces season had to teach us, what Pisces season brought us. It could be something that something for us to be mindful of moving into Aries season. Could just be, hey, like this is a thing that happens. And then, excuse me, I'm going to pull 1 card for like our intro into Aries season, and then 3 cards for like Aries season overall. And then that'll be that. So something interesting that I've noticed out in the world and my personal, and yeah, the circle of people that I know personally is a lot of relocation. Like I know 3 people. First it was 1 person, and then it was another person, and then I got on Facebook and it was somebody else. And I was like, wow. The collective experience of relocating is a thing apparently right now, which is cool, I guess. The relocation bug might bite me here in a few months, who knows? If it does, I'll be ready for it. Okay. I'm ready. I am ready. Also, I got my laptop. I got my iPad. I got my iPad. I got a charger for it finally. The one I had went out. Also was old, but so I can use the Book of Maps. I can look at Time Nomad, which is my favorite app to look at astrology. I think right now Mercury is conjuncting the North Node. Okay. Pisces season. As we conclude Pisces season. Pisces, it ain't over yet, though. Interesting. Venus, the Empress. What about her? Second card is Pisces, the moon. Venus did go into Pisces during Pisces season. That is something that happened. And it's interesting because I think the sun is actually going to be in Aries when Mars enters in the Pisces. Third thing. These are so just like broad. Okay. Archangel Commander, bottom of the deck is the Chancellor, is Justice. So the Empress is feeling like the Empress is honestly giving me the energy that was around the excuse me, around the part of the present that we don't see in the future. Because this dragonfly is here, it's like things that she can't see, but that she attracts with the swan. Like swan is giving me lover's energy, which is giving me attraction. This is also probably one of the wettest Empress, sorry, probably one of the wettest Empress cards that I have. Like, look at all the water in the background. And then the Archangel Commander for me is about us not minding our P's and Q's, but us doing whatever we need to do, handling our business more or less. So there are the things that we do that we need to for the betterment of our lives and society or whatever in general. And then there are the things that come our way. They're the things that find us. And in the middle is this necromancer, gateway of resurrection. Now, this is giving me like the birds. This feels like, I don't know. Because this is the moon card, and because the dragonfly is covering her eyes, it feels like things set in motion in Pisces season that we don't even know about. Because there are the things that she attracts without necessarily speaking or seeing them, and that's one of these birds. And then it's also happening outside of her, so it feels like there are alignments that are happening. There are moves that are being made. There's like shuffling that's happening on the board without her knowledge or awareness, and maybe without the knowledge and awareness of another. And I almost want to say, like, even High Priestess energy may not reveal it. Or maybe even our intuition or discernment may not reveal it because the jackals are like tied together. Almost like the lovers, but not. I mean, the lovers and the devil card, but it's something about them being like leashed where it feels like something is very almost like mum's the word. Hey, Holly. How are you doing? Oh, yeah, that it's new. Um, it wasn't necessarily supposed to be in frame, but that's fine. It's totally cool. I almost wonder too, because the Archangel Commander is here. So lately, as in the past week, in the past few days, well, the past week, it's an energy that's been almost sort of weighing on me since earlier in Pisces season, and it's kind of related to like semi sort of related to authenticity, but more so related to like what things are for us personally. Now, me personally, there are some things that I might struggle with internally because of how I see it claimed externally. Like, let's take fruit, for example. Like, let's say, take an apple, right? What we can probably generally agree on as an apple, but let's say to me, like, that would be a banana, right? So, when I hear banana or when I think banana, I think one thing, but other people call it an apple. And I'm like, I don't know if I like bananas, because of how I can see it as an apple sometimes. That probably makes no sense, but lately it's been like, it doesn't matter. Excuse me. Right? If it's a banana to me, it can be a banana to me, and I can treat it like it's a banana. I don't have to call it an apple if I don't want to call it an apple because for me, it's a banana. Um, so there's been that, but then also, I guess here within the past few days or like 36 hours, that's also, I don't know. I'm going to pull before and after the archangel. I'm going to pull before and after the necromancer because it's in the middle. Excuse me, and because it's the most, I guess, secretive. But there's also like, I guess you could say that there are things that I want in life, or there are opportunities that I would love to show how good of a fit I am for. And then that is crazy. But also they have cotton candy grapes. So they have grapes that taste like cotton candy. So you know, it was bound to happen eventually. Um it's almost like, what is it like? It's like if I feel like I should express my interests and my talents more, especially in the professional setting, because it's like otherwise, how else would like someone know what direction I'm thinking about moving in, or what opportunities I might be interested in, or what kind of critical experiences that I would be totally down to have. You know what I mean? Because I had one and it was amazing and I loved it. Um, and someone else was like, "Did you hate it? Like, how was it? Was it terrible? Was it awful?" And I was like, "No, it was actually like really nice." And I gelled with the people, and they were awesome. Um, in a professional sense, and I guess in my own personal life, and that's to me, it's Archangel Commander because it's like it's standing on your 10. You know what I mean? On your tens or whatever. It's like really being about it. And then that would be, it's almost that part of like you never know who is watching, or you never know, like we never know what is happening in the cosmos of opportunity. The cosmos of opportunity is, let's say that you mentioned that you're interested in something at work to one of your coworkers. One of your coworkers is talking about you to one of their spouses, and then a friend or a coworker of that spouse mentions something, and through the grapevine, you come up. It's like, oh, like my partner spouse has someone that they work with who would be amazing at this, and they've expressed interest in it. Like, why don't we share like that's the cosmos of opportunity, because like we don't know. And it's easier for us to be found on the web of opportunity when we express those things with this Archangel Commander, right? It's almost like you have not because you ask not, but um, less like asking the divine and more just like in general, I don't know, networking, connecting, stuff like that. And then that could be like this coming together, almost like dominoes in ways that, we don't even know. So Archangel Commander, I'm pulling from the bottom and then I'm going to give it a shuffle and then LOL. I'm going to put the Archangel Commander back. I'm only going to take the cards before and after. And the Archangel Commander is literally with the Empress. So. Oh, wait, why am I looking for the Archangel Commander? I'm supposed to be looking for the Necromancer. I'm going to put all these back because this is not what I was looking for. But I wanted to put him on the moon. Like, I went to go put these on the Necromancer because that's the card I said I wanted. And that's when I noticed, I was like, wait, I pulled before and after the wrong card. I'm going to put him here anyway. And then we're going to look at I'm not going to take the cards for the Necromancer, but we're going to look and see what's up. So the Necromancer is in between the Demiurge and the Wish Granted, Jupiter and Pisces, Venus and Aries, the Four of Wands and the Nine of Cups. Four of Wands and the Nine of Cups is gorgeous, and then there's the Ten of Pentacles with the Queen of Wands, Golden Shield on the other side. Gorgeous, gorgeous energy that we love to see. I feel like we just saw the Destroyer in the Vitruvian edition, the Ten of Swords in the Vitruvian edition, and it was a goddess with 3 heads. And now we see a goddess with 3 heads, or 3 goddesses, on this Wish Granted Nine of Cups energy. Also with that Four of Wands. The Four of Wands is a card of milestones and celebrations. It's like big dream come true type energy. Like you would have never necessarily thought. And then the Eight of Wands sharpshooter. With the Emperor at the bottom of the deck. What? And the Empress, they're coming. Like, oh, Empress is ready. It's time to make a move. And then the Ten of Pentacles again. Okay. Cool. Now, in the Vitruvian edition, we still have a lot of water. But there's like a waterfall in the background. Her mouth. And eyes are still obscured by the dragonfly. It feels like things have grown even more a little bit because we see this grain at the top. And the Vitruvian, I don't know if that's grain or if that's a flower. Like we see the grain down here. And then like this up here. But in the Revelations, like they're both, oh gosh, I get confused. They both continue to grow. I feel like I used to know how to do this. I don't know why all of a sudden. But this Empress is on the side of the Archangel Commander. And the Four of Swords is on the side of this Convalescent, is on the side of this, Empress over here. What I like about this is it's almost as if nothing need be done. But again, it's that energy of like, there's not conscious effort on the part of this Empress. And it's not that the Empress isn't doing anything because again, the Archangel Commander is here. But it just makes me think of the energy around that Eight of Swords, the present that we don't see. It's how our energy, our vibrations ripple out into the universe. It's almost like if the what did I just call it? Cosmic possibility, opportunity. I'm already forgetting. Like if that is this pond, right? And our energy, our vibration creates a ripple in that pond, but it's almost like it ripples inward. So it pulls, it gravitates things in instead of like, well, I guess it could do both. Like there are some things that will be like pushed out as it ripples, and then some other things that will like ride or ripple in. And maybe that exchange is happening under the guise of the moon. Pisces season being very mysterious and surprising and not necessarily forthcoming, but I guess what Sun conjuncting Neptune, well, that conjunction is weakening now. That the Sun's going to be in Aries. But again, it's just this energy of like, it's not necessarily the things that we did or didn't do. And I don't know, just in general, like, I don't know how easy something like this is to try to manipulate. And I only say that because I think sometimes we can be coached or taught or convinced to almost more so like try to manipulate energy rather than really like growing into an alignment with it. It's like, we try to mask and parade and put on a facade of whatever instead of like doing the things to get us there sometimes. Because again, it's like the world speaks energy, the world speaks vibration, and that's not new. But we can't necessarily word and speak ourselves into a vibration. At some point, there has to be like a follow through or an action or an anchoring. But regardless, it's just that like, it's like a vibe thing. Now, with this angel in the window about to pour this urn, something is like gonna be aroused from slumber. Something will be like woken up at the appropriate time. But with the Three of Swords in reverse up here, it could have also been a time of recovery. Or it could have been a time of taking it easy, a time of not making super drastic changes. And it's interesting that this is like all Empress energy. Empress came out twice. And even because I meant to look around the Necromancer, but I pulled around the Archangel Commander. So the Four of Swords and the Empress would have been around the Archangel Commander, which again, it almost gives it an energy of like, there's nothing more that need be done, which was the Queen of Air in the Good Tarot. Usually the Queen of Swords has butterflies, but she had an owl. And it was an energy of like, there's nothing to change or transmute or transform. It's just to abide by the wisdom that we've acquired, or to allow the knowledge that we've acquired to be transformed into wisdom and to abide by that wisdom. There's nothing necessarily to go out and do. It's already been done. Which is kind of, I don't know, but also there was that like Mars has been doing a lot, like the most apparently in Aquarius after it conjuncted Pluto and leading up to that conjunction in Pluto. All right, first thing Aries season is gonna bring for this one, I am for sure gonna pull before and after the card in the Vitruvian edition. Oh, two cards almost flipped over. Oh, another one almost flipped over. It's a bunch of stuff that's like almost coming out, but then as I continue to shuffle it, like it goes right back into the fold. Which isn't necessarily giving me false starts energy, but it's almost giving me fireworks, but fireworks in a way of like a lot of things sort of like popping up and not necessarily being distracting. But I guess fireworks, oh, it's the Four of Wands celebration. Fireworks can also be something that, we see at times of celebration. Fireworks are also things that, people feel. Oh, it flipped over, but I'm not gonna take it. It was an accident. Oh, okay. So we have the Hector, which is the Five of Swords. But what's interesting about this is it feels like, for two reasons, it feels like this battle is already over because of the miss behind the Hector. There we go. And because of the raven here, or the crow. Usually I call them crows. I don't know why I'm calling it a raven today. But like because of this, it feels like this is like a distant memory. Now, this could obviously be triggers, an energy of like being triggered. Um, but because the Revelations Hierophant is at the bottom of the deck, like the Vitruvian Hierophant, there are things that must have been done in order to keep old systems of power in play. And the bully energy of the Five of Swords could very much so be that Hierophant. Even if it doesn't necessarily truly genuinely believe everything that it may speak or preach, it's almost like sometimes there are things that are necessary to maintain a sort of control, right? So, like, let's say that we have Hierophant Bob and Hierophant Bill. Hierophant Bob doesn't mind Hierophant Bill. Hierophant Bob and Hierophant Bill may actually be like pretty good friends, but Hierophant Bob's flock is like starting to veer in areas that might lead them to Hierophant Bill. And in order to maintain control, or in order to discourage the flock from leaving and seeking another Hierophant, like Hierophant Bob might start to like say stuff about Hierophant Bill that Hierophant Bob doesn't necessarily like believe about Hierophant Bill. Again, like Hierophant Bob and Hierophant Bill, like there's no bad blood between them. But in order to maintain control and in order to keep seats and butts in the pews, the Hierophant will do and say what they need to keep people there. Now that's old Hierophant. This Hierophant, again, like the one in the tarot, Astromatrix tarot. In the Astromatrix tarot, we saw the devotees in front of like literally a manifestation incarnation of the divine, not in front of a pope or in front of somebody in a pew, or in the Pride tarot, it's someone that's like on a podium, at a podium, like speaking, and that like there's nothing wrong with it. But again, the purpose of the Hierophant is to lead us to the divine. So eventually we get to know the divine for ourselves and not try to elevate the Hierophant to a place where it's supposed to be like a substitute for the divine, and we treat the Hierophant as the divine, or the word of the Hierophant as the word of the divine. Like the word of the divine is the word of the divine. And the Hierophant may like say it, speak it, share it, channel it, communicate it sometimes, but like it's the divine's word still. Anyway, it's almost like softening now, though. It's a very like this isn't necessary anymore energy. That's what this is. But it could be like an adjustment period or an adjustment phase. It's almost like all of a sudden, it's almost like to have a sudden change of heart. And it's that awkward phase of like allowing what we used to know to be true, not allowing that. It's like it's an awkward phase of like openness, or not even necessarily a lostness, but it's just like that transitive in between. Okay. Like I said, I'm not gonna take it. First thing Aries season will bring. First thing. Ooh, wow. Acrobatics. Love it. Flipped over, came up, did a 180 and slid right back in. 2 cards. Oh gosh. I saw this card at like the bottom of the deck. I'm pretty sure I was shuffling this deck, and you may have seen me like look at the bottom and then keep going. She came out. Bottom of the deck is the corruptor, the 7 of chalices. That's interesting. It's interesting that I mentioned hierophants and things that hierophants don't necessarily believe, but things that they must do in order to maintain some semblance of control. And I'm not as like one of the things that immediately comes to mind is TikTok and how like there's a thing about banning TikTok in America, right? And it's like it's past the house or whatever. At first I'm like, oh, like is it some kind of data thing? Now people are like, well, it's because of people using TikTok to self-educate. And when folks are self-educating or when there's not a central body or when there aren't tributaries of central bodies where all of information is disseminating from for whatever purpose and reason, it makes thinking and thoughts harder to control because then like people can see for themselves like what else is out there, you know what I mean? And so again, like I'm sure there are people who are utilizing their government given power to work against TikTok, even if they love TikTok, probably, but it's like, for the good of keeping control, we will sacrifice funny TikTok videos. I'm so out of touch with TikTok. I was gonna say funny cat videos, but that's like the internet. I don't even know like dancing and recipes. Like most of what I know about TikTok, well, not all of it. There is some stuff where people be like, "Hey, this is what's happening," and like people are again educating and bringing up history and bringing the facts, the FACTSs, the FAXs, facts. And it's like, oh, interesting. Like, we say this, but here's the reality. Whatever we're saying is not matching the reality. So something somewhere is a little, and the cogs are starting to turn, and Hierophant's like, you got to stop it. But anyway, I just saw the cards that came out. She is such a frequent. Oh, hold up. We have, who is this? Saturn in Libra, and we're gonna have the full moon Libra eclipse at the end of the month on the 25th. That's 6 days ish into Aries season. Like 5, I guess. So the bereaved came out, the 3 of Swords came out, and again, like she's like always here. She comes out often. Sometimes I'm like, is this Isis? But she came out with the angel. The angel here is a divine higher genius. And I don't know if there's a word for that piece. The thing that, like, if you have a cape or something, the thing in the emblem. But it is the Ankh. And it's interesting that it's the Ankh because we've seen Miss Empress twice. Now, I think she's hidden it in this one. Usually you just see the Ankh with the Empress. Now, it's interesting in the Vitruvian, the Ankh is harder to see, but in the no, in the Revelations, it's harder to see. I can't find it on her. Like, I don't know where it is. Maybe you can find it. Do you see the Ankh hidden in the grass, in the reeds, in her robes, under her pocket? On this one, it's like there. You see? You can kind of see it. With the knot, it's like here. Like there's the loopy bit, and then it goes down, and then you have that. So I guess it's interesting that she doesn't have an Ankh here, but the angel does. Now, there was also the thing that was Venus conjunct Pluto. Because when I read Venus conjunct Pluto, there was the staff of David, but like angels were holding it. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. It's like we're leaving the tools of the above to the above. And then that was like, as I think it came up on both sides, but as Venus was approaching Pluto, and then after we saw angels with like swords and stuff. I'm pretty sure we saw the flaming sword twice, and we saw Michael, and Michael wasn't holding the sword. But the Queen of Swords came out in reverse as like the Empress. And I guess I just say that because it's like the Empress has given the Ankh up to a higher power. This is mutable signs. But it's interesting because it's giving me this energy. The Three of Swords in reverse, and then the angel with the cup. Then we have the Three of Swords also in reverse. I mean, they're in the heart, but they're not three swords upright. So it's just giving me this like almost this more like behind the scenes because like she's in the window or in this painting, and then it's like she's popping out of the painting, coming through the window without breaking the glass, just like phasing through the window. There is no window. And then yeah, I feel like if you've been getting like if up through Pisces season the message has been like rest, because there's going to be a point in time where things are going to like pick up pace. Also, the background of this angel does almost look a little bit more like the Vitruvian Empress, just because in the Revelations Empress, there are like waterfalls in the back. Now, what's also interesting about this is I don't remember exactly what came out, but there was a thing that came out recently where I was like, you know how I'm usually like DIY, whatever. Like, if we claim to be sovereign, then the least we could do is like be sovereign. Um, but it was that like, I know I say like DIY this, DIY that. We don't always have to rely on spirit or the divine to do the things for us that we can do for ourselves. Now, there are some things that are way outside of our control that is not for us to worry about. But Archangel Commander said some of this stuff we can actually take care of ourselves. And when we handle those ourselves, we grow. We grow wiser, stronger, more independent. And then when the divine steps in for us, it steps in a different way, almost in a greater way. Now, I am extremely biased when I say this, so it may not resonate for anyone else at all. But to me, it's almost like when we can handle the small things ourselves, then the divine can focus on the big things. And it's not as if there is some limited resource that we consume whenever the divine steps in for us. But it's like, when we can take care of like the minor things, the divine can focus on orchestrating and bringing in and creating the bigger things. And when we get into a habit of taking care of the minor things, we can be trusted to do what we need with the manifestation when we get it. So that will be the abundance that we receive that we don't squander, or it will be the opportunity that we take that we don't self sabotage or imposter syndrome or whatever else away. Like those are kind of like big, but those are the minor things that we take care of. And then we can freely be given these opportunities. Speaking of like working on something big, there you go. What's interesting is there's a single drop of blood coming out of this heart. And there was one sword on the Five of Swords that had a single drop of blood running down it. Also, I don't know what this is. It may just be a print. Like whatever this is here, it could just be like a floral print or something. Like these hands are kind of making me think of that. Well, it seems like Aries season ain't gonna necessarily open up any less cryptic. Unless this is a healing. And it's interesting that it's a healing and not a resurrection because the necromancer is here, the gateway of resurrection. But I wonder if that's also some kind of something. Like there are things that can be healed and then things that need to be resurrected. And only the divine. It's all like it's one of those things where it almost reads like anyone can heal to a certain degree. Some can become very proficient in healing, but only the divine can resurrect because past the point of death, we have no influence or say. The corruptor, ooh, with that Queen of Swords standing right behind it, Sanctum of the Valiant at the bottom of the deck. That Queen of Swords is like, enter if you dare. Now, the Seven of Cups, the SKT is interesting because there is no cup in the SKT that is a good cup. None of these options, none of these choices are the right option, are the right choice. Each one of these is related to one of the seven deadly sins. But because of the acts of Shiva removes corruption. Now, there's also an emphasis because of the mirror here on self reflection. Now, that would very much so be, was it the moon or was it silver? I think it was silver that came out last time that talked about us facing the truth of ourselves. That ugly, harsh truth that we may not even really necessarily want to see. There are two things here. I think that's supposed to be like a crescent moon, but the way that it's like, the way I can see like the circle of light and that like portion of it being dark, it's almost giving me more eclipse energy. And it's interesting that it would be this dark with that much of the sun still being like revealed, but also this down here is what really speaks to me. I feel like this light and this cosmic whatever darkness with this, now it's giving me the, I think we saw the Seven of Cups and the Seven of Swords in the Runic Tarot. In the Runic Tarot, there was somebody that was like waiting behind the bush, but it was like they're going to take a different path. So they're not going to get ambushed. They don't even have to worry about it. But I was looking at this almost like dais here, because like there's this bot, like there's all this water out here, and it's almost like there's a little platform here with the heart on it, and then we have, I guess, Isis, and then sitting on a throne, maybe behind the heart. We also have like this healing, right? It's almost like there's something about this that clears the confusion, that might actually make one of these a viable option, especially because of the axe that moves. But like, to choose a chalice externally that has been purified of its poison, we must be without corruption internally. And it's like that. And then that's like this lighthouse thing down here, the healed heart or whatever she's doing on his heart back here on this little island. Cool. There's a lot of like water down here too. I guess I shouldn't be surprised because we're coming out of Pisces season, right? Also, when I was reading Pluto, when I was reading Mars conjunct Pluto, Scorpio was coming out as like Mars now. It's like there's an integrated Mars, basically. Where it's like if we see Aries or if we see Scorpio, that's Mars. And like, I guess Scorpio is modernly ruled by Pluto, traditionally ruled by Mars. I guess it shares ownership between Mars and Pluto. And maybe before Mars and Pluto had that conversation, there was some kind of like separation or some kind of distance. It's almost like Mars wasn't Mars when Mars was in Scorpio. And so, because Mars couldn't be Mars in Scorpio, Mars had to be extra Mars in Aries to compensate. But that's not necessarily the case anymore. Why am I mentioning Scorpio? Oh, because the water. That's why. It's almost like because Mars is more balanced out now. I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if Aries has an energy that's a lot more watery than usual because Mars isn't as polarized. Like Mars isn't necessarily overcompensating as much in Aries. So now there's an element of Scorpio that's going to be given to Aries. Okay. Looking before and after both of them. Why not? Oh, snap. If you could see the bottom of this deck, you would have seen the cards I saw. Who am I? I'm like, who am I looking for? Oh, look at this. The Hector is with the literally right next to the Holy See. This is the old Hierophant energy. That was the one that proudly, kicked tails and did all kinds of stuff. But in this new one, it's almost like this distant memory. Like we don't have to do that anymore, you know, type thing. Or it's like battle being waged between things that are larger than us. So we have the Seven of Swords and the Sacred Fire around the bereaved Three of Swords. I guess I'll put it like this. And I left the significator in the deck. So the Three of Swords bereaved is still in there. Now we're looking for the angel. It is entirely possible that I have passed it up. Oh, nope, I didn't. The angel is in between the sharpshooter and the memory keeper. And then we have the archangel of healing and the burdened one on the other side. After the burdened one is the tower. It's interesting that it played out this way. Well, okay. I guess this is less interesting. Not less interesting, it's less shocking, maybe. So before the sharpshooter, walking it back, we have the burdened one, the tower, the Nine of Wands, the malaise, the convalescent, which is that Four of Swords, and the contender. It's interesting that the Nine of Wands is the malaise here. So we go from the convalescent to the malaise. The interesting part to me was, but I guess it isn't. I guess for me, I would interpret tower energy as a liberator because of how tower energy, Ten of Swords energy, like the tower, the Ten of Swords, the moon, were the hangman, well, more so the tower, the Ten of Swords, the moon, were some of my favorite cards because of the element of like revelation and like maybe a difficult ending, but an ending nonetheless. And like it makes sense to me why those cards were my favorite cards because there was a lot of stuff that I would intentionally avoid, not look at. So there were things that could have ended literally at any point. I had the resources, I had people in my life who cared about me. I had everything I needed except for all of what I needed within me to allow myself to address, face, tackle, and then move on from those things. So like there were things that could have ended, but when it came time, like the towers came, the Ten of Swords happened. I was like, oh my gosh, then the sky cleared. But it's interesting that this tower causes the Nine of Wands to go to the Ten of Wands. Again, like knowing people, it's not interesting. Or just like if we are at the Nine of Wands, barely hanging on, feeling overwhelmed, overtaxed, and then the tower happens, it's not surprising that we may feel overwhelmed or burdened. The tower in this case would literally be the straw that broke the camel's back. Now we have a camel with a broken back, and we have to pick up everything that the camel was carrying. You know what I mean? And then to have the convalescent come before that malaise and the contender before that, it's like It could almost be when we prioritize comfort over like healing, or when we prioritize comfort over like work being done. And again, like in the Vitruvian, this is water that's being recycled. The angel isn't popping out of the painting to like wake this person up, because it's almost like, again, it's that it never gets out of bed. And of course, there are times when life's like that. And it's not for us to force ourselves to do necessarily anything before we're ready to. But at the same time, sometimes if we want something to move, we have to be willing to move. If we want something to change, we have to be willing to change. And if we want something to be made right or be made better, we have to be willing to do better, or to do right by ourselves, right? Right in whatever way aligns to us getting to where we want to be. I wonder if too there was something that, like a tower, it's almost like maybe the tower tried to come in and lighten the load, but we held on to it. We refused to let go. And then the Archangel of Healing is there with the healer behind that. And then the Destroyer. That's the top three cards, because the angel was that close to the bottom of the deck, or the top of the deck, technically, because I pulled from the bottom. Archangel of Healing, the healer, and the Destroyer, the Ten of Swords. This is the one that had the goddess with three faces. And then you can see Hierophant hand symbol as the old Hierophantic system is crumbling or transitioning. Now, this is like the Archangel of Healing and the healer and the Destroyer coming to the one who could not sort of like let go. So it will still find you, of course. But what came out, oh, I messed up the order. It was like that, and then this, and then this, and then this. To the top of the deck. The Memory Keeper and the Sharpshooter is on the other side of the angel. Is that how I'm doing this? This was before, this was after. This was before, this was after. Okay. Oh, look, we have the Destroyer and the Corruptor. Both having energies of like removing corruption. There's like almost Old Testament biblical, and then there's the corruption that we can remove within ourselves. I wonder if this is almost going to be not necessarily rough. So we have the awakening. Oh my gosh. The awakening with the Seven of Swords. LOL. Because in the Seven of Swords, this person is asleep, and then it literally says the awakening. So it's like they're going to wake up before whatever this is happens. And like that type of person doesn't have the courage to do anything when this lady is awake. But we have the storms of the tower in the background too. It just feels like some kind of illumination. Do we usually see a snail in a Seven of Swords? I think the snail is usually something we see in the Nine of Pentacles, maybe. It's almost given a close call. But I wonder if this is a close call that's almost in so that we see something. The Ace of Wands is it's reading to me like illumination. Illumination of the Seven of Swords. This could also be it would be very easy for this to be something like the days are getting longer, the weather is warming up, like the seasonal maladies are starting to lift. And it's almost like just in time. Now, this could be internal. I would say whatever this is, it's interesting because on this side, it's almost like don't act hastily, but then there's like so much movement here in this Eight of Wands. But the Eight of Wands doesn't necessarily have to move a lot. It's the arrows that move, not the archer. And because of the thing of the past here, or because the energy of the past with the Six of Cups, the memory keeper, Mercury is going to retrograde. Mercury is going to retrograde in Aries season, I'm pretty sure. Let's see. Because I'm like, something of the past is like coming back quick, but it almost feels manifested. So, like, we are empowered to make whatever choices and decisions that we make in our own lives. But there's something about this where it's almost like it calls back to the past. And then, just ask yourself, I guess, if the past is something that you want to revisit. Mercury stations retrograde in 2 weeks on April Fool's Day. And then it stations direct on the 25th of April, a month after the lunar eclipse. It crosses the Taurus cusp on my grandma's birthday. Hey. Cool. So yeah, Mercury is going to station retrograde. Mercury is going to retrograde in Aries, I'm pretty sure, this Aries season. But I guess that's the thing about Mercury and Venus. Whenever they run too far ahead of the sun, they always get pulled back. But that's because of our relative position. I don't know how the other planets structure. I think that's when our orbits overtake like their orbits. Maybe I think like I know. I don't know. It's just that Mercury is so close to the sun, like astrophysically, that from our vantage point, like this is the degrees of freedom it has. Like here's the sun, this is Mercury at all times. So when it goes too far ahead, it goes right back. And then it goes ahead, and then it goes back. Anyway. I feel like a lot of this hinges on this Three of Swords and our willingness to be healed. But also because we have the Archangel Commander here, from Pisces season and before, like we've already established a certain foundation. Like this isn't Archangel Commander coming out and that let me teach you at least how I'm reading it. I guess we can all be on a different timeline or whatever. Um, because we all move at our own paces and we don't rush ourselves or allow ourselves to be rushed. Because when we do things sloppy, we gotta go and clean it up. And then a retrograde will be your opportunity to clean it up. And it'll be my opportunity to clean it up if I was sloppy. Because I ain't perfect. I am blissfully, perfectly imperfect. I am happily human. Because I think this thing from the past, it could also be, this could be like something from the past, or it could be something that's close to our hearts. And I think there's almost this subtle difference of what we call for and what we call to us. Or I guess you could say there's a difference between what we manifest and what we attract. And we try to attract our manifestations to align them. But this is very much so, again, about attraction because she's not seeing, she's not speaking. It's not anything that was necessarily on her radar, but her energy, her vibe, her aura, her allure, she attracts it to her in part because of who she is authentically. Right? Cool. Now, this could be a manifestation where it's like, again, we call back to the past because there's something that there may be some kind of comfort that we want or whatever, for whatever reason. I don't know. This it's almost like close calls on the other side, So Aries season overall. I think some of these seasons have had like kind of rough introductions to them. Look, sharpshooter at the bottom of the deck. Now we are operating in alignment with the divine. This is, I guess, attracting what it is that we're manifesting. Because down here we see the twos of them in alignment. First card that came out is Saturn in Sagittarius, the burdened one. We literally, Ten of Swords, Ten of Wands. I didn't even catch that. We just saw the burdened one here. Before the card, the Fool. These columns, you see the columns? Like the row of columns? They actually, I was kind of like attracted to, I guess, this detail. That where the angel comes from, like there are all those columns. This almost feels like, because it's almost being welcomed into the world of this angel, or welcomed into the world of the painting or the mirror. Um, I had it and then I lost it. Oh, this is almost like, this is Flaming Fist Officer. Almost. It's almost like this is being given a burden. Um, and it could be like a burden of knowledge, right? A burden of knowledge could be literally anything you have to sign an NDA for, and also other things. And where we just had the Mystic Rose, I don't know what this thing is called. I forget. Where we just had that and this burdened one. Now it's almost like we see the complexity of the um, architecture. It's like all of this detail, and then we have swirling galaxy. It's not just this like. It's almost like we're getting into it. We are privy to more, I guess you could say. Why am I calling him here? Because of the Flaming Fist Officer. The Flaming Fist Officer is just like the Flaming Fist Officer has a burden that he's proud to bear. Like there's a difference between burdens and responsibilities. This actually feels like a burden because it doesn't feel like it's the responsibility of this person. It isn't. The responsibility of this is this Atlas like figure here. This is his responsibility. But I guess if we are trying to get in on like what's going on here, then it's like, we can share in that burden, I guess. Alignment with the divine and that Eight of Wands, that's the resonance where the person was holding that Two of Wands, and then the hand of the divine was also the person was holding the Ace of Wands and that Two of Wands, but then the hand of the divine came out literally like holding the same wand, like the divine moves through us or something. In reverse, what? We got reversals in here. Oh, the dynasty. Excuse me, at the bottom of the deck. It's interesting that it has the opposite configuration of sun and moon as the angel does. Maybe that's because of this wheel in reverse. So if I do this, they're actually the same. There you go. See, nighttime, and then daytime. I don't know why I get so confused. And then the Four of Wands and the Wish Granted are behind this. So they come out together again, but this time apart from the Necromancer, apart from the moon. It's also interesting. I should just keep this card out. This is like the 5th time I've gone back into the deck. Oh no, I got the Tower. That's fine. Oh wow. This is so interesting. Because the Wheel of Life came out in reverse. So that's why I was like, oh, I guess like they're on different sort of like almost as above, so below. But if the above were like, I guess it's like if you look at the ceiling. If you look at the ceiling, it's like a mirror, like it flips. Just like if you're looking at someone else, like your right hands will like, you'll have to cross to join right hands. Your right hand will be across from their left, right? Because as I'm looking at the screen, my right hand is on my right side in real life as I'm looking at it, but on the screen, it's on the left. It's on the other side because that's how it works. So it's almost like in that as above, so below, it's also like flipped. And so if we try to do a direct translation, it's almost how like if you are talking to somebody else and they're sitting across from you, it's that like my right or your right type of energy. I'm right. Ah, sorry. I don't know why I find that so funny. It's the Taurus in me. I'm right, you're wrong. Is that Taurus? It's the fixed sign in me. It's the Taurus, Leo, Aquarius, Scorpio. Oh, um, this is interesting. So remember how I was saying it was like in the Vitruvian. Also, that was this not Pisces season? Was that Pisces season or was that Venus? No, that wasn't because I didn't formally do Venus transiting into Pisces. I think it was Pisces season where Pisces season had the divine becoming more approachable with that Hierophant energy. There was something before that the Hierophant had closed off, but in Pisces season, it was going to be open and accessible. And then last time when I was using the Astro Matrix Tarot, we saw the Hierophant, but we saw people like in front of the divine, not instead of like people in front of the Pope or people in front of the minister or people in front of the prophet, like people in the presence of the actual divine itself. I forgot about that. I forgot that Hierophant came out like as one of the first things, I'm pretty sure, in Pisces season. Things that were previously inaccessible will now be accessible. But this, so now it's like by the end of Pisces season, we see that as like standing, um, I guess, receptive to the revealing of those things, which again is the destroyer in the Revelations. And I've read it. I'm pretty sure that's when I showed my screen. Um, when I read it in the book of Maps, how it's purifying the vessel to receive a divine gift. And I guess this could be the pouring out of that divine gift. But what was supposed to be poured out as that divine gift instead looks like we get pulled into the mirror. So instead of it being poured out onto us, we get pulled into it in every season in whatever way that means. I don't know. So, like, let's say that you've been manifesting sugar daddy, rich husband, because that's the kind of abundance you wanted, or wife, or person. You know, anybody can be rich. Being rich is non gender specific, okay? And wanting a wealthy partner is also non gender specific, okay? But it's like instead of like getting a wealthy partner, you become the wealthy partner. Like instead of like you get pulled into it almost. I don't know if I'm gonna try to ground this. This may be one of those take it as it resonates. I'm just out here floating in Pisces land. Okay, so we saw this, right? And I was like, this is like almost at a distance. This is like when we get into it, when we get pulled in and we see like the word that comes to my mind is architecture, but that's not the word that I want. I can't think of the word that I want. It's on like the tip of my brain. Like my brain is screaming it at me, but my tongue is not, can't find that word. Almost like the grand design. It's the architecture. But what's interesting is with this Four of Wands, it's like that's the thing that's in the middle of the like this world. And then we have where the thing where there is usually a void in the Kabbalah tree of life, we see something growing. So yeah, that was it. And then the initiate is under that. And also, last time there was something about something that I literally just forgot already. The Sphinx, destiny turning. Now, when this is in reverse, Cancer is at the top of the wheel. When this is upright, Capricorn is at the top of the wheel. I feel like in this, there are so many, like, it feels like, especially coming into Aries season, it feels like subtlety is such a big thing. I don't know if it's like sensitivity, because, like, if, like, let's say that someone is like super photosensitive. So when they go to sleep, they have to have the blackout curtains and everything because the littlest, like the teeniest amount of light will wake them up. Like they can't sleep. It has to be like pitch black in order for them to sleep. But it's like, did Rain say something about that? I feel like the Rare Gazelle mentioned lately, or maybe it was somebody else. I don't know. Like switching tracks. That was that Pisces on a new path? Maybe not. Somebody's mentioned it lately, right? It's like there's the train and it's going this way, but then you switch the track, so it goes like that way instead. But the switching tracks, like that's the sensitivity. Like the difference between manifesting something and attracting something. Because manifesting is the active effort that this Empress energy in Pisces season at the very least was not doing. She was attracting. And because of that, if the Empress attracts from the Six of Cups, she'll get like her heart's desires fulfilled quickly, expediently, expeditiously. Speaking of the tracks, anyway, sorry. um, but if she's manifesting something, that can be something from the past that comes back up that may not necessarily. It could be a great opportunity to learn that the past should stay in the past. There's always a positive spin. It's like, yeah, I don't like that anymore. I don't want that anymore. You know, and I don't know. There's like even this here. There's something so subtle in how this could play out or express almost completely differently. Look at this. So in reverse, we have the scales of Libra upright. Saturn in Libra, the bereaved. You see that? I don't know if it'll focus, but we have a hall of pillars in reverse. You see all the pillars in there? But when this is upright, it's like a temple or like a city. That's up there. Like that's more like a temple. It's not really focusing. And I'm not using OBS, so I can't force it to focus. I need to do laundry, honestly, high key. Like that's more like gates or an entryway or a city. In reverse, again, it's like pillars. Oh my gosh. I had a dream one time. Cool. The third thing for Aries season. I feel like this is the least, or this is the most just like, wait. Oh, nope. The Shining Waters, Knight of Cups almost came out, but when I kept shuffling, it put itself back into the fold. But again, so with this bereaved and the angel, like when I was shuffling to get the first thing that comes out of Aries season, there were so many things that were like popping up, and it was like fireworks, not necessarily distracting. It's like the purpose of the firework is not to distract, but it can be distracting because they're so flashy and they're so loud and they're so attention grabbing that like you just naturally like look at them as they go off. So it's like fireworks in that way. Or it's like distracting in that way. It's distracting, but not necessarily meant to be a distraction. You know what I mean? Subtlety. Mars is all about subtlety now, I guess. This is the new Mars. Mars has is a whole healthy, balanced Mars when it's in Aries or when it's in Scorpio. So now all of that scorpionic subtlety below the surface, behind the scenes, not necessarily innuendo. But like Scorpio can be direct, like Aries is direct, but almost in like different ways. You know what I mean? Sometimes in very similar ways, because again, they're both Martian ruled. So, but I wonder if like it's something about that that's like that's why Aries season is coming out with like so much subtlety or so much depth, but it'll only go as deep as we have been. And again, I'm not going to say that it's just because Pisces season came out in such a like effortless, radiant energy. Again, like the Empress isn't necessarily doing anything but existing flawlessly, beautifully as she is. And then she like attracts things to her, things that she doesn't need go seek. But again, like the Archangel Commander is here. So it's not that the Empress isn't doing anything. It's just that like she's focusing on what's for her to focus on. She's honing what was for her to hone. She's doing what was for her to do. And then lo and behold, something else is working out in the background. And I feel like if I tune into like big Empress energy, like she would know this because I'm seeing the Empress in the garden, right? And she's doing her thing or whatever. And she's like, she just used the little hoe to dig a hole and put the plant in, and she like covers it up, and it's like someone walks into the garden and she's not even looking at them. Like you wouldn't even think that she knows, but like she starts to smile because she knows who's come. She knows what she's attracting because she's like honest with herself, and she's done that. It was in the corruptor, right? She removed the corruption from within her, so she knows that anything that comes her way, it's going to be free of that corruption. She's did the work, basically. And so because she's did that, she can like, just quietly do her own thing. And like, then it's like, oh, we have company. It's like, I don't know if she's necessarily like, I've been expecting you. You know what I mean? I don't know if she's necessarily like, oh, I knew you'd be here. You know what I mean? But anyway, it's interesting that for Aries season, there isn't more like direct. And it's not that there won't be direct action, but it feels like because this is the first thing that comes up, I don't know if we're necessarily meant to be aware of the subtleties. Also, oh, with the angel and the bereaved, oh, the fireworks. Okay. So with the fireworks that can be distracting, not necessarily a distraction, or not meant to be a distraction, but they're just distracting. There can be a lot of things that come up, almost like when we hit spring and the when the ice starts to thaw and people start coming outside or going outside because it's warm and the flowers are like, is the snow gone? Okay, can we be like beautiful? Like, is it time to bloom? It just feels like it's a lot of that, but depending on how we feel within ourselves and depending on what's going on internally, that might limit our ability to participate, right? Like, not trying to trigger anybody, but it's like if someone's like, hey, like we're gonna go to a pool party, like someone just got a new pool, it's been cold and snowy and they haven't been able to use it, we're gonna go use it, everyone's invited, it's gonna be a blast. But like if you're self-conscious are like body conscious, then you're like, oh, like of course, not of course. It's something that you would want to go to. It's something that you would want to participate in, but your self-consciousness stops you from like going. Like that's this energy here. Where it's like it can be some of those things that we've still held on to. Like if it hasn't been let go enough for us to say yes to the things that we want to say yes to, that's what makes it feel like this could be a little heavy. And then if we can't say yes to the things that we're uncomfortable with, we might start trying to say yes to the things that we are comfortable with, the things of the past. And then depending on how that goes, it could be good, it could be bad. It could be one of those things that like now we see that as a self-sabotaging behavior that we have. And that's kind of that was the story of Venus and Mars like before, interestingly. It's like whenever Venus would get rejected, or whenever Venus would be humbled, or whenever Venus would need a pick me up, she would go to Mars because Mars was the dog that always waits at the door for her. But then one day she went to Mars and Mars was like, no, like I deserve someone who's going to be here with me all the time, not someone who's just going to use me when they need a quick pick me up. I'm not here to gas you up anymore, Venus. Why don't you gas yourself up? And so she had to learn to. So she did all that healing and stuff, right? So now even if she is a little like self-conscious or whatever, like she can still say yes, right? Or she could be like, oh, like I'm not gonna swim, but I'd love to come, and they'd be like, oh, it's fine. Like you don't have to swim. We just want you there to be a part of the celebrations. Like there's gonna be food and like music and good company and a whole bunch of other stuff. Like you don't have to swim in the pool if you don't want to swim in the pool. And I guess that can sort of turn into like a throwing the baby out with the bathwater type thing. It's almost like no one's saying that you have to do the thing that you don't want to do. Type of energy almost. But again, it's a lot easier to say yes when there's been a foundation of like, when there's been an internal foundation that is being built and worked on and stuff like that. So the Nine of Swords at the bottom of the deck. Cindy's got a pool. Wait. I mentioned that because as I was shuffling, there was a card like the Knight of Swords the Knight of Cups, sorry, that showed his face but stayed in the deck. I just remembered like all those cards that were like making a whole bunch of noise before the Three of Swords and Temperance came out. Our final card is two cards, the Reaper and New World Order, Death in the World. It's a whole new world. Now it's interesting that we got the Minor Arcana World card. We got Milestone Celebration. Now we have Major Arcana Completion. And we have our fixed signs. So we have our fixed signs in the world. We have our mutable signs in the angel. You see on her sash, she's got Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. On the world, we have the bull for Taurus, lion for Leo, angel for Aquarius, and the eagle for Scorpio. Oh, I feel like you don't necessarily see it in this card as much. But we have the bookends of the angel. Oh, I guess you can kind of see it. You see that? The light at the top, how it goes, like its center is in the angel and then it goes to the world and to death, to the Reaper. It's interesting that the final card is the bookends. Also, I guess it's not lost on me that Scorpio is here. I'm going to take that as validation for whatever this new balanced whole Martian energy is. Aries season, or the energy of Aries, it's going to be a little deep. It's going to be a little subtle. It's going to maybe Mars is going to learn how to let things simmer. And it almost feels like Mars letting things simmer can be uncomfortable. or it can be felt as uncomfortable. But it's almost like unsettling, right? Like when you do something to someone, and I guess if they like say like, "Oh, I'm gonna get you back. Don't worry about it," and then you're on edge. Like, when is it gonna happen? It's almost like that, or and it may just because Mars could act, or the energy of Aries could be so almost. It can seem so much less Martian or martial or whatever. But I don't know. It just feels like it could be interpreted. It feels like it could feel unsettling. It's like, well, what's Mars going to do? When is Mars going to strike? Like, it's Mars' season. Mars is, the god of war. Like, what's going to happen? When is it going to go down? This is such an interesting, and it's also interesting. This is its own whatever of interesting. Because we go from Atlas and the Burden one to the wheel of life to the world. See, there was something about this, even when these cards first came out, because of this card, because of the angel in the picture with the bottle of water, the Three of Swords in reverse. This is the healing after the bereaved. But I mean, if you pour water on someone that's sleeping, it's to wake them up, right? And then we had the angel and the bereaved came out. We had the angel and the bereaved come out like first. We have where the light, I guess, where the sun rises and where the sun sets. Because again, with the Reaper in the world, our new world order, death in the world, we have the beginning and the end of where this light. Well, I don't know if it's necessarily a beginning and the end. If they both originate at the light, so we see light's end, but where it ends on both sides of the spectrum. Passage to initiation, crown of the Magi. The initiate was at the bottom of the deck behind whatever card at whatever point. The quester is at the bottom of the deck now, which is that Six of Swords, which is that movement with that universal Mercury, with the dragon on the cloak. Also, so now like the clasp of the quester is almost giving me more of that. Well, you can't see it because it won't focus. It's giving me more of this right here, and how we saw it open up, be the center spoke of the wheel and the Four of Wands. That Four of Wands was the demiurge, and then we have like this is high key wild. I don't know how this would apply to people, but this is like high key wild energy. I feel like this is high key wilder than like the dragon being the King of Pentacles. I was like, what? Speaking of though, we are like 2 months. We had new moon Pisces just now. I guess new moon Aries is the solar eclipse, and that's like still a ways away. So we like a month. A month. It's been a month because we just had that new moon Pisces. A month, a lunar month into this lunar new year. And I wanted to pull a star dragon. Ugh. Yeah, this high key wild energy. Like high key wild energy. Um, I dare say unprecedented, but what do I know? Culmination, completion, and renewal, number 27 at the cut, which is interesting because we saw the completion card in the completion. I feel like it's been kind of sort of coming out in the mystical shaman oracle cards. So we saw completion in the mystical shaman oracle cards, and around fire was the Earthkeeper and the giveaway. There was the ascension of the shadow, the fine tuning, the threading. And it was like, take this and put it here. So on, now I gotta find it. Oh, look, there's the initiate, path of initiation. And then there's the golden shield. The golden shield was literally at the bottom of the deck, almost with the solar eclipse at full totality. But it's interesting that it's like, but it's not dark. Solar eclipse and full totality. This card was behind whatever card was just at the bottom of the deck. I've been seeing the golden shield. But you see, like all the pillars here? Like this is the sanctum of splendor. I'll show you. It's interesting that at full totality in the sanctum of splendor, it almost feels lighter than the partial eclipse of the corruptor, the Seven of Cups. Excuse me. Ba-da-da-da-da-da. Looking for the corruptor, Seven of Cups. Okay, let's speed this up. Is it at the top of the deck? Did I pass it? Is it on the table? Where is the corruptor? I think I'd started thinking about other stuff and got in my head a little bit. Then I was just like, okay. We'll look one more time. Corruptor, where are you? The Seven of Cups. It's interesting that it's called the corruptor because that's the ebony shield. It can be the ebony shield for me, or that devil energy. In the way that like absolute power corrupts absolutely, opportunity makes a thief, anything like that. Like if all someone needs is opportunity or power or anonymity, that's not um, a large gap to cross. You know what I mean? Here it is. Did I see any of these cards? I remember seeing the blind seer in the title card. And I remember seeing the erudite. Okay, it's fine. I don't even remember why I was looking for this card anymore. See how it's like, I don't know. This golden shield is a total eclipse, and for some reason, it's looking lighter than the partial eclipse of the corrupted. Anyway, why did I come looking for the corruptor right here? That's why. So the platform that Isis is on with the heart, like this is like it's on ground level, but then it's like it goes up, and when it reaches a certain point and the light of the angel hits it, because I guess they literally came out together, it becomes, it's like the heart is like a prism that will then, when it reaches a certain height, it'll like, I wish I knew that. Y'all know the sound effect for whenever like a beam of light comes on. It's like the I can't make the sound, but it's like that. If you've ever played Zelda Wind Waker, there's one of the temples where you get the mirror shield. And it's all about using the mirror shield to like reflect light, to hit panels, to reveal things, to do all kinds of stuff. But again, like where the light goes, it's this new world, new world order. The heart is raised. Oh, the heart that's lighter than a feather. LOLOLOLOL. That's why the scales are up here. This is a heart that is lighter than the feather. The heart would be here. The feather would be here, and because the heart is lighter than the feather, this platform would raise and raise and raise and raise and raise and raise. And I'm sure as it's raising, the swords are popping out and it's healing, and then the swords go on the wall or whatever. But then when it raises and it meets the angel, it's like the heart would be here, and then it would create that baby. Cool. I'm gonna look before and after. I know this is already lengthy enough, but I am gonna look before and after the wheel of life in the Vitruvian edition, to be our bridge back to something that's happened or happening now in Pisces season. This is the center card in what Aries season is going to bring. And we're probably going to see the Wheel of Life upright, because if it comes out in reverse, I'd be surprised. I'm surprised that this one was in reverse. And then I'll get panel cards, and then we'll be done for tonight. Ooh. I barely caught. You see that one? Oh. I'm so busy focused on this card that almost came out, that another one dropped out the back. Who is this? Oh, it's the bread of life. Oh, and it's bent. Oh, it's bent. No, I do not like for my cards to bend, and that crease is severe. This is a severe crease. Oh my gosh. It's interesting though, because I was mentioning the Hierophant, and the bread of life literally came out in the clarifiers as, yeah, I'm pretty sure the bread of life was in reverse. Like the divine was not allowing access to this before in whatever way, for whatever reason, or maybe we as people hadn't yet ascended to the point where we would access those things or naturally attract those things. I mean, we've been manifesting it since day one, but to be at the point where we attract it, completely different. Um, yeah, that was the bread of life. Now it's upright. The card that came out is the Erudite. Now it's interesting. So it was the wish granted Nine of Cups, the corruptor, 7 of Cups, the 2 of Swords, the blind seer, the title card, and then the erudite. I remember seeing the title card and I remember seeing the erudite and I remember reading the blind seer, but I didn't see the corruptor that was like right next to it. I didn't see the corruptor. I didn't see the wish granted 9 of Cups. I didn't see the warrior. The sun was around there. I was like, I don't remember seeing these cards. But anyway, the erudite is here. Lux ex tenebris, light from darkness. Where I am, you also may be. Just I've never had the reason to read it in this way. Where I am, you also may be. It's us getting pulled into this column world. Now it's like with this burden and the burden of this kind of knowledge and everything else. It is the golden shield again, column world. Yeah. So I guess I'll just take that as a little confirmation. Where I am, you also may be. Cool. Oh, well, no wonder why this came out as the necromancer. No wonder why this came out as the moon. No wonder why nothing was being said. Anyway, take it as it resonates. Apply it in your life as it applies. 3Dify it. Bring it down. I've broken up bits and pieces and chunks. Oh. We got the title card and the Archangel of Mysteries, angel who illuminates the shadows, at the bottom of the deck. With the erudite hermit, where I am, you also may be. It actually landed on top of the burdened one. It landed like this, face down at the bottom of the desk. Well, who wants to be here? See, there's something like, have I read this before? I don't think so. If I did, not on this channel. Cool. Who am I looking for? The Wheel of Life. Oh, hey, finally. The Wheel of Life is in between the Chariot and the Shining Flame. Before the Chariot is the Force, which is strength. And before the Force is the Ivory Shield. And then we have the Golden Shield. The Golden Shield that is the same as the one in Column Land. Oh, that's not Column Land, sorry. The same as the one in Column Land. Behind the golden shield is the sacred word, sacred cinnabar, sorry, Ace of Swords, and then we have the warrior, which is strength, and the chancellor, which is justice. And then here's Mars and Scorpio. So yeah, I was gonna say just, blah blah blah, whatever. Just like full moon Virgo was bringing out a weird double sun energy. It's like sun in Pisces opposed sun in Virgo. Instead of it being the sun in Pisces and the moon in Virgo. Here we have sun in Libra. So I don't know if it's going to be a similar energy as we are approaching the full moon Libra, if it's going to be another sun in Libra. But yeah, the Ivory Shield and the Force, this is interesting. This Ivory Shield is my BTFU card. She's my... It goes beyond proceed with caution. She's my caution, do not enter, or like danger, do not enter. She's my do not enter card. She can be. When she's like glaring at me, I'm like, okay. She said, the waters past this point are too divine. For some, don't even want to be a hierophant stand in to try to approach. Let them meet up with their spirit crew and let them take them further. And I go, okay, girl. All right. I acknowledge it. I honor it. I accept it. But with the Force here, Girl. That's what makes it interesting. I mean, I'm sure. Anyway, the chariot and the shining flame. After the shining flame is the high priestess, is the priestess, if you are curious. Who's after that? The scarlet shield. All of the shields are here. I don't know if this is like a highly protected space. Every shield except for the ebony shield is here. So golden shield, ivory shield, the forest, the chariot, the wheel of life, the shining flame, the high priestess, and the scarlet shield. I don't know if I can show all these. So 2 queens on this side, 1 queen on this side. Between all these queens, between all these shields, the forest, the chariot, the wheel of life, the shining flame, and the high priestess. This is so interesting. Oop. This is what's between those 2 shields. Talking about a space that's highly protected. Now, what's interesting is, though, because the chariot is here, we now have our 4 mutable signs. The ram for Aries, the crab for Cancer, the scales for Libra, and the goat for Capricorn. So we have light from darkness in the Lux ex tenebris, and then we have light and truth, Lux ex veritas. So truth from darkness. It's the associative property of whatever. I don't know. If light, like light and truth is like light equals truth. And then we have Lux ex tenebris, light from darkness, out of darkness, light, out of darkness, truth, because light and truth out of darkness. Where I am, you may also be. Cool. You go up here. Yes. Okay. Y'all remember that Ace of Orbs, the bread of life, that had the bend in it that I'm so sad about? Here we can see behind the ropes. All of these pinnacles are behind ropes. All of these orbs are like roped off. And then the wheel of life is in front. The sphinxes are in front, almost guarding or protecting everything behind. But again, here there are no ropes. Here it's almost like it's revealed. And instead of the sword at the top of the wheel, we have the scales, where the heart is lighter than the feather. There's the sword on this side, but it didn't come out that way. Oh, see, look, you can see the gates up there, up here. But in reverse, you see the columns. Well, I guess it's more like an entryway, but there are columns in there. Yeah, you can see the columns. You see the columns in there? This goes back in the deck. No, that comes over. That's its own thing. Lightning and the Pyre. What came out? So the cards I was talking about in the Mystical Shaman Oracle cards, I'm pretty sure they're the ones that came out. Many Paths, Completion. What was it? It came out before and after Lightning. On one side was the Hunter. On the other side was Completion. No, because Completion came out over here. What else was it? Was it the Child? And the Hunter? I forget what it was, but it was like the Hunter, Many Paths, and the Sorcerer. Or the hunter, the sorcerer, and many paths, and then the child was there, and it was like always on the right path type energy. Why am I talking about that? Because lightning in the pyre is the shining flame. Universal Mercury. No, that's sulfur. LOL, just kidding. What's more interesting is here, and the depictions of the chariot and then the reaper. And it is on the dark side, but now there's like light here, light and truth from darkness. We have the sphinxes here. Oh, so this wheel of life is missing two sphinxes because they're tied up with the chariot. Two sphinxes on this card, two sphinxes on this card. The wheel of life in the Vitruvian edition has four sphinxes, two on the top and two on the bottom. Hold up. No. This is a lady, or this is a person. Are you serious? I've never noticed this. I always thought these were sphinxes. These are like pharaohs or something. I always just saw like the headdress and assumed it was a sphinx. Like, person's got a body. Like, there's a whole hand right there. That's a whole person. Look at the snake, the cobra. And then there's one up here too. That's a whole person with another cobra. That is wild to me. Never mind, I take a peek. I was gonna say two sphinxes, but two of them are on the chariot here. That's why we don't have four on the wheel here. See, lightning in the pyre. Lightning in the pyre with the chariot. It's because of the lightning. The standing figures are giving me. You remember? I don't know if y'all remember when I used I think the second time I did the booster packs with the Dungeons and Dragons Magic the Gathering cards. It was the command tower. And it was like, it felt like there were beings in the lightning, or like it felt like there were beings behind the lightning watching the trial of the command tower. Like, it feel like it could be these beings. I guess they are the watchers. This one almost look a little shamrocky. Looks like it could be a shamrock. So I'm gonna I'm gonna low fruit this one. I'm gonna say this is a shamrock. So this is like a now-ish energy. But this is like literally the conclusion of Pisces season though. Also, these sphinxes give me the energy of the jackals because of the crescent moons. I'll do it like that. The sphinxes are giving me the energy of the jackals. I wonder if I should hold it in reverse. Nope, that doesn't help. Holding it in reverse doesn't make their configurations match, which is interesting. because they're different. And the jackals, the crescents, and the jackals, the open parts are pointing away from each other, and the sphinxes are pointing towards each other. So I can't flip one upside down to make them match, unfortunately. No, that does not go up here. This goes up here. Destiny turning. See, I feel like again, there's just, I don't know, maybe in your life there is something chariot energy, Cancerian energy, cardinal energy going on. Aries has Mercury. Oh, let's take the guesswork out of it. Love it. Now I can use my iPad. I can use Time Nomad again. Cool. So as of right now, Aries, North Node conjuncting Mercury. North Node, Mercury, and Chiron are all within 3 degrees of each other. Those are in Aries. In Cancer, the moon is in Cancer right now. Libra has the South Node, of course. And then Capricorn has Ceres at 13 degrees. So that would be pretty closely squaring North Node, Mercury, and Chiron in Aries. Closer to the North Node of Mercury. A little further from Chiron, but it looks like it's still 5 degrees. Cool. Eve missed the blur. Cool. The sun is up here high in the sky. Excuse me. We also see two faces of Scorpio here. We see the eagle in the world and the scorpion in the death card. Um, so there's something. Where did I just put it? Where's the erudite? Where did I put the erudite? Oh, I was like, was the erudite here? No, the erudite fell out by itself. Um, see the light from darkness. It's like this light. This is weird though. Like this light and truth was found in the dark, and then it's being brought to the light. Because then here's like the light from darkness. Oh, look. The star that's in the Hierophant, the star that's in the Hermit's urn is the same as the little pinwheel on top of the visor of the chariot. Let's see, let's do it this way. Oh, there we go. See a little star? It won't focus, but it's up there. There you go. There you go. Now you see it. Similar. Now these stars feel like they're different than the suns we've seen. I was about to check something too, but I forgot what it was. So it's fine. Cool. I think that's it. Hello, hi. We're walking it back. Hello, hi. Come on, chariot, walk us back. Okay. See, that's what I get for trying to make it focus. Of course, I noticed these four pillars with runes or whatever on them, holding up the canopy of the chariot. Okay. Oh, come on, we're focusing. We're focusing. We're walking it back. Boom! We're back in focus. Thank you. Also, I'm wearing my single shirt. I was gonna make a joke about me feeling a little hoarse, even though it's a sequel. But obviously I didn't because I wasn't ready to go live. I meant to click OBS and then go live. Well, OBS and then thumbnail and then go live, but I just went go live, so it's fine. Dragon. This is the last thing I want to do. And then we'll get final cards and we will call it a night. Call it an evening, shall we? Okay. One dragon would be lovely. It's fine. I feel like I should start taking pictures just so that I know, so I can reference it. Like, what was before that card again? What came out on the side again? Just gonna keep shuffling until a dragon flips over. Or maybe I should put the rest of the cards. If nothing else comes out for the next three shuffles, I'll put the rest of the cards together and get one. That was one. That's two. That's three. Okay. So the dragon is like different. Cool. Love it. I think I read that. I was doing a crossword and it was something like it mentioned something like that, like a flower about this and that. And the only thing that could fit was like poinsettias or poinsettias. And I was like, oh, I didn't know they stood for all that. Oh, gotcha. Excuse me. The ants go marching one by one. Hurrah, hurrah. Oh, get a little shuffle action going. Ooh, just saw the discerning one at the cut with the title card. Oh no, the discerning one's on the bottom of the deck. So we have the Mason, Mars in Capricorn, ex nihilo nihil fit. From nothing, nothing is born, or something like that. Labor conquers all. We've seen the Mason building those tunnels and bridgeways. Bottom of the deck, from the Three of Pentacles to the Four, Sun in Capricorn. Oh, I kind of like this. The Conservator. Oh, that's interesting. We see the four elements in building block form. Is there like no floor? Is that like a pit or a gap? Are these pinnacles floating? So this is almost like Mars in Capricorn is putting in the work to build those foundations. Son of Capricorn could be seeing the fruit of your labors, the labor that conquers all. Labor omnia vincit, or vincit, labor conquers all. That's why we do the work, I guess. Oop. Wow. Not me accidentally trying to X out of the window before I even get these final cards. Oh, what's this dragon gonna be? This dragon is shy. Maybe we should let shy dragons remain unpulled. We'll see. Oh, now the Empress flipped over. Excuse me. Maybe there's been something. Excuse me. Maybe there's just been like something sleeping within you. And whatever you're manifesting, it requires that from you. Like it's part of who you are authentically, it's part of your gift set, talents, abilities, skill set. And it's just like, it's time. Don't be so self-conscious. Maybe, now may be the time to showcase it. All right. SKT Revelation, sorry. Girl, she came right back out. When I was putting all the cards together, the Empress like flipped over face down. I put the cards together, I shuffle it, she fell right back out. Also, there's the pelican hiding in the reeds. I don't know if it's necessarily hiding as much as it is just like behind the reeds. Which is an interesting energy in and of itself. Just like how fireworks can be distracting, but they're not necessarily distractions. And I guess they're only distracting if you're not there to watch fireworks. Like if you're trying to have a conversation, then maybe they can be distracting. You know. Bottom of the deck is the Archangel of Glory, Angel of Art and Grace. This is our fourth Archangel. Technically, kind of the third, but technically the fourth. For me, personally. The Archangel of Mysteries came out when I got the deck, pretty early. The Archangel of Healing came out, and she was the spiritual self deprivation tank. We go into the tank and we find out what is us, and we find out what are not us. What is not us? What is us? What is not us? And then the Archangel Commander came out, which was the like lift your sword, do the things that you can do for you. And then at some point you will be trained in the art of fire swordery. I mean, maybe your sword is a water sword, or maybe your sword is a spear, or maybe your sword is a bow and arrow, or whatever. I don't know. The Archangel of Glory is the only one that like hasn't necessarily come forward yet with curriculum. Well, because that's what it feels like sometimes. It's the only one that hasn't given me a curriculum through the course of like reading these. Now, the Archangel of Glory was at the bottom of the deck, at the bottom of this deck at some point. I think it was like I was looking at cards at the bottom of the deck, and then the Archangel of Glory was there. He wasn't like at the bottom, at the bottom. He was behind some cards at the bottom. Now, I guess what's interesting is it is the Sanctum of the Valiant column world. That was the golden shield. That's the shield to the Archangel of Glory. So I guess that would be the one that we get through to get there. Under the Archangel of Glory is the bread of life and the joined one. The Two of Cups was at the cut when I first put all the cards together. Abyssus, abyssum, and Wokat. The depths of you call to the depths. The abyss in you calls to the abyss in me. And then we have those moons that are pointed inward together. So those are the moons from the foreheads of the sphinxes on the chariot. Now, what's interesting is, for some reason, this is almost a callback to the erudite. Where I am, you also may be. I love the SKT. And then here's the bread of life, Ace of Miracles. Excuse me. This is coming out as confirmation for me of attracting. She's attracting the Ace of Pentacles by whatever she's doing back here. She's doing her inner work. Maybe, I don't know. Because it's being brought to her. This is the same bread of life. That's the same Ace of Pentacles that has the crease on it in the Vitruvian edition now, but the same one that was in reverse. Like, the divine purposefully kept some things away for whatever reason. And then one of the first things in Pisces season was some of those things being returned or brought back into our orbit. But Pisces season said that, or Pisces season read like doing the work that we're doing, focusing on what is for us to focus on, focusing on our curriculum given to us by the Archangel Commander. And while we were completing, achieving, doing whatever, we were becoming more and more magnetic to whatever it is that Empress is attracting. She may not necessarily see it. She may not necessarily know, because the moon was there. The necromancer, Pisces, was there. Oh. 2 cups, 2 moons, 2 fish, 2 snakes? Question mark. Maybe. Maybe not. There is some greenery here. See that? And that, I don't know if it's low-key giving a little, like, making our gardens real lush. Maybe, like, we've been energetically making our gardens lush to attract a certain kind of wildlife. Maybe the kind of wildlife that was in Gravity in the Elemental Oracle. Maybe not. I don't know. Cool. Oh, King of Wands. The Archangel of Glory sits in the space of the King of Wands. It was the Devil, the Page of Swords, and the King of Wands. In the Astro Matrix Tarot, those were the bottom 3 cards. And then around the present that we do see, maybe, it was the Page of Cups and the Hierophant. I think it was the Page of Cups and the Hierophant, which was like getting to know the divine on a completely new level. Now, if that present from that is corresponding to what Aries season is going to be, I can see it. Where I am, you also may be. Welcome to Column Land, Column World. But also, I had another thought in there somewhere. I don't know. I lost it. I'm a little head hurty. The Dragon of Challenge, just, let's see, I'll read it real quick. Standing up for your rights, challenge. That's 7 of Wands energy. Also, that's the Knight of Wands and the Pride Tarot. Stands up for their rights and the rights of those who have been silenced or oppressed or repressed or who don't have a voice. Encouraging others to use their voices. Yes. Oh yeah. Because of that, I wouldn't be surprised. That's all I was saying. Okay. Dragon. It's been like a month, a lunar month of this year of the dragon, and I just wanted to. I'm gonna give it 5. If nothing comes out, I'll put the dragons away. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Aw, I've never seen this dragon before in my life. Not this sky mermaid. Hello? Oh wait, maybe this is the water. I don't know anything. Are they like dancing? This is kind of cute, low key. I'm so confused. The card that came out is number 6, Bliss. Cherishing the day. Look at how much fun they're having. That is gorgeous. Oh my gosh, I love it. Bottom of the deck is enlightenment moving forward. Oh, snap. I don't think I've seen this one either. Given big hermit energy because of the lantern, obviously, but you know. And like the light of the lantern is illuminating her face. It almost looked like she's like posing, like for someone to take a picture of her or something. You know what I mean? Like catch my good side, but then half of her face ain't illuminated. It almost looks like this dragon is like pointing at something. See by my finger right there? It almost looks like it's like pointing. Like it's like this. Yeah, right here. And then she's almost like looking in that direction a little bit. See, this is the second phase of the Hierophant. That's I've been talking about the Hermit a lot. So I guess I shouldn't have been surprised that that came out. Yeah, I'm not. Where I am, you also may be. When we trade the light of the Hierophant for the light of the divine within us, our hermit journey is completely different. This dragon is pointing something out to her that her lantern isn't necessarily illuminating. This is like taking the place of the divine within her as she's doing her inner work. And it's like, look over there. And then she's like, oh, what? Was that there the whole time? I couldn't see it. It's like, yeah, that little dingy. Let me stop. Anyway, the light of the hermit or the light of the hierophant isn't designed. In my humble, could be completely wrong. What resonates for me for me opinion. The hermit can only like take us so far. The hierophant can only take the hermit so far. At a certain point, the hermit has to get to know the divine for themselves. And when the hermit gets to know the divine for themselves, sometimes the divine within the hermit may contradict the divine that the Hierophant speaks of. Maybe it's because you're different, you're unique, you're interesting. Maybe you're just like weird, but in a great way. You know? Maybe what's for you is for you, and what isn't for you isn't for you. So, therefore, what is for someone else may be for them, and it may not be for you. You know what I mean? But I love that it's pointing out there was an energy that used to come out years ago, maybe 21 early, maybe, maybe 20 early. But it was the golden corridors or golden doorways. It's like we're going somewhere, we're doing something, and then there's like a door of light that opens up, and it's like, hey, come in here. And it's like a shortcut. I think whenever the shortcut was coming out, was that 22? Was 22 the year of the shortcut? Because I think the golden doorway energy actually appeared before the shortcut, but then the energy of the shortcut kept coming out. And then I was like, oh, that's like that golden doorway. And it's like this. It's like the dragon is pointing out the shortcut. And she's like, oh. So are you telling me that I don't have to? And Dragon's like, yeah, no, it's fine. It's like she's got what's-ma-call-it, TSA pre-check. She's been pre-checked. She's got the global entry, pre-check, all that stuff. She's good, you know. I wonder if it's like if you have TSA pre-check, I wonder if you like don't have to leave 5 hours before your flight. You know what I mean? I wonder if that's time that you don't necessarily have to account for. I don't know. Who knows? Anyway, that's what I got. Thanks, Holly, for stopping by. I hope you all have an amazing whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. I hope that whatever you need along your path journey, what you find. I hope that your intuition is strong and your discernment is healthy and your whatever you got to do what you want to do is where you need/want it to be to get what you want. So, yeah, that's that. I will see y'all maybe when Mars goes into Pisces. Let's see. I love time nomad. I do. Mars goes into Pisces in 3 days, in 21 hours. March 22nd. Yeah, that math works out. So what? Right before we have a few days before we have the full moon Libra. A few days before we have the full moon Libra lunar eclipse, which is interesting. I guess the interesting part is that Mars is moving out of the trine. Pluto's going to be in the trine because Pluto's early Aquarius, and that's going to be early enough. Aries, it'll be 6 degrees at the most. Mars won't even be in a trining sign. Mars is like, I'm going full sesqui. That's not a sesquiquadrate. Quincunx and conjunct, 150 degrees. Anyway, to the moon. Anyway. Yeah, I already said my hopes. Let's pull one of these. I don't know. I tried to get another booster pack of magic cards when I was at Walmart the other day, and they didn't have any. I was so upset. I was like, wow. And I'm gonna buy some Major League Baseball cards. I don't know anything about baseball. I don't even know the positions. You got the pitcher and the catcher and the umpire. You got your basemen, your outfielders, I guess your infielders. 3 cards just spilled out. 4 cards just spilled out. Beckoning Will-O-Wisp, Lulu, Loyal Hierophant, Slaughter the Strong, and Fire Diamond. Slaughter the Strong is literally ineffective because all of these have less than 4 power. Lulu can fly. The Will-O-Wisp can fly. At the beginning of your end step, if a permanent you control left the battlefield this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on each monster you control, then untap them. Lure the unwary. At the beginning of combat on your turn, choose an opponent. Creatures attacking the last chosen player get +1/+0. This +1 is nullified by the counter, the +1/+1 counter that Lulu the Hierophant puts on here. And then the fire diamond enters the battlefield tapped. It adds a fire mana. It's just like, I don't know if this like necessarily means anything. These two, this is like redundant. Don't need it. This is no one's strong enough to be slaughtered. So only these two. Oh, I take it back. I take it back. Because the fire diamond, and then the will o wisps are like balls of fire, or they look like balls of fire, right? I almost wonder. This is interesting. I think this slaughter the strong comes out to actually defend Lulu the Hierophant. Because with Beckoning Will-O-Wisp, if whoever controls Lulu is targeted, every creature that attacks that player gets a plus one added to their power, right? So this isn't necessarily how the game works, but it's almost like this slaughter the strong is insurance for Lulu. Nothing will be more powerful. Well, okay. It makes it so that Lulu won't be overwhelmed because anything that's 5 power or more has to be sacrificed. So I almost wonder if this isn't a little callback to the Archangel Commander, where with the Archangel Commander and the Necromancer and the energy of Pisces season was basically we take care of the things that we can take care of. At a certain point, the divine takes care of the bigger things. This would literally be slaughter the strong as the divine taking care of bigger things. Anything that would overwhelm Lulu. And then the rest Lulu would handle and take care of. Now, these beckoning will o wisps aren't particularly powerful, but they are very tough. And they lure the unwary. So that could just be like a resurging doubt. But this resurging doubt within us can be resolved by something as simple as faith. And, an active and healthy intuition and discernment. With those three things combined. But these beckoning will-o-wisp, because the fire diamond is here, it's almost making me think of like free mana, almost, or like mana with a bark, or mana with a bite, mana with personality. And I say that because I was watching a show on Netflix before I finished it. But the mage had consumed a lot of mana fighting on the water, doing her water walking spell, whatever. And then they encountered an Undine. Now it's interesting that they encountered an Undine because the Knight of Cups made an appearance but flipped back over. And the Knight of Cups, the Shining Waters, is waves of the Undine. That's why it's interesting. But she was like, the show was delicious in dungeon, and they eat monsters in the dungeon. Like they ate a scorpion. Speaking of the scorpion and the death card for Scorpio. But she was like, Undines are basically a collection of like water spirits, and water spirits feed on mana. So if we were to eat them, like if I were to eat them, then I would recover my mana. Now I'm not saying like eat the will-o-wisp, but maybe it's something about the power of faith that can turn what may be a misdirection into a redirection, into a knowing and understanding of maybe it was just our journey. within reason. I'll say within reason, because not every loss or every tragedy or every misfortune is meant to teach us something. You know what I mean? Like life happens. And yes, sometimes there are lessons. Sometimes life is just being life, you know? But it's almost that like where we could use what may be alluring the unwary energy actually to our advantage. Or again, it's just that like we know that we have the potential to walk away from a lot of situations with something that we didn't have before. And then we develop the intuition, the discernment, and the capacity to recognize sometimes when there is nothing for us to gain from a situation and we ain't even got to indulge it. You know what I mean? It's like, been there, done that. I know better. I've learned better. Not to say that a trip won't reveal something else because life's in that way too. Sometimes there's always something. But yeah, so this fire diamond is almost like repurposing the beckoning will o wisp to become mana for Lulu to use. And because both of these are flying, I don't know if this is that archangel. I don't know if it's like a obstacle race, obstacle course. I don't know if it's like an obstacle course, like boot camp style. Because of that archangel commander, let me train you in how to use your sword. Now that you've done this, like here are some other situations where you can learn that you can also handle these, or you can take care of these, or here's another way to use your knowledge to expound and expand upon your wisdom, right? Here's another situation in which something is also applicable. Here's another way in which you can put the self-love that you've been learning into action and into play. Self-love isn't necessarily about always saying no when you are like when your battery is low or when you need to take care of yourself. Sometimes self-love is also saying yes to the thing that you really want to do that might scare you, or saying yes to the salad and no to the 15th slice of cake, whatever. Because they're both flying, because the energy of both of these are elevated, and again, almost because the heart was raising in the dais on the bereaved until it reached that point at the bottom of the corruptor where the light of the angel shines through it. It's like these elevated lessons, and maybe the elevated lesson energy plays into the subtlety that Aries season is coming out with. Especially right up the Aries season, like it's reading as wild. How is it going to play out? I don't know, but it's reading as very wild, but almost very much so like this kind of energy. Cool. All right. Bye.